everyone, my name is Cameron. I am currently a first year student at Liberty University in the Masters of Art and Human Service Counseling, and I had an enormous opportunity to participate in the interpersonal communications class, which allowed me to see my communication skills and what I need to improve on. So first thing is, interpersonal communications, in my perspective, is finding a balance of emotion and logic to communicate effectively to those who you care about and love to find a solution of any issue or conflict that presents itself. So, one thing about me is that I've always been very, very emotional. In any situation, I'm either one extreme to the next. I'm either trying to get my way, or I just shut down, give people whatever they want. Like, I have no middle ground, and that was a huge issue. But I didn't understand where exactly does my emotion come from. So with this communication class, I actually had the opportunity to take an assessment that was based on Carbonell's novel regarding communication. And with the 4 temper model that Carbonell created, it has a circle and it has 4 different boxes. You have D, I, C, S. So you have all of these. On this side with the D and the C is more so of dominant, more logical. And then the I and the S is more of emotional people person. So when I took the assessment to see how people see me and how I see myself, I tested, of course, in the emotional categories in both the I and the S. Meaning that I am very emotional. I am a people person. I'm more empathetic. And I allow my emotions to be the controlling captain of my communication. Now, this can be a benefit, but it can also be a barrier. The reason why it can be a barrier is because if you're completely emotional, you cannot have an effective conversation with somebody regarding a conflict. And that is something that I've always struggled with. I have anxiety, and I've always had an issue with communicating or having someone feel safe to talk to me because they know that my emotions run high when I communicate. So I'm glad that I took the assessment, and now I can see, okay, what are my barriers? The first thing is that my number one communication barrier, I'm very emotional, of course, so I do not create a safe space for my talker. The speaker of the conversation feels unsafe with me, meaning that I'm so emotional that I either give the person the opportunity to talk, I'm like, okay, you can have your way, or I so like, no, I want my way, and I try to listen to respond, but I never listen to fix or listen to understand where the person's coming from. I always see my side. So in order to avoid conflict, I'm like, no, you're right. But that's maybe not what the person wants. I realize that sometimes the people who talk with me or come with me with a conversation or a conflict necessarily just want to be heard, not responded to. So with Peterson, he gave me a lot of great opportunities and tools. For prime example, to create a safe space for my speaker. When I'm listening to somebody, not necessarily allow my emotions to go on the back burner. I usually use my heart and not my head. So Peterson talked about that you need to find a balance, that listen to the person and have an open mind so you can understand the information, but don't be cold. You have to find a balance and allow you to show empathy and be able to show the person that you do care about what they're coming from. So with all that being said, Cameron is an emotional person. And with this course, it gave me a lot of tools, a lot of resources to use regarding how to communicate better. So where do we go from here? Here's my interpersonal communication plan. So one thing that I do need to realize is that I want to be an owner of a nonprofit. I actually do have a nonprofit called the K.L. Morris Foundation, and it's regarding mental health of youth and adolescents. And if I can't communicate and listen to the student and allow them to vent, how am I going to be able to do my job right? So with that being said, my communication plan is to do the exercises that Pearson allows. So using the scale method, meaning like on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling? How important is this to you? What is going on? As well as actually taking a step back and putting my recorder on, opposed to trying to respond. to lock my mouth and unlock my ears and actually listen to the person, and then possibly say, so this is what you're feeling, to confirm or to clarify, this is what you're trying to say. Instead of saying like, oh, I get it, because sometimes what they say may not be what they're trying to communicate. So it's important that you listen, and if you feed it back to them, that allows to see like, okay, I understand where you're coming from before you respond. Because sometimes we can hear something and it may not be what the person is trying to communicate. And as a counselor and as a nonprofit owner for youth and adolescents regarding this field, it is important that I understand where the person is coming from. Even with my mother and I, as you know, have been dealing with a lot regarding my grandfather because he is currently paralyzed. So sometimes I listen to her emotions and I feel like that she needs a response, but in reality, she just wants to vent. And so that kind of helped me in her relationship regarding communication, because my mom and I used to bump heads a lot. So this actually helped me in a sense. Another thing is that I want to make sure that I create a safe space for my talker. So as I stated, making sure that I understand them before responding. So think before I speak, lock my heart and unlock my mind, and listen to what the person has to say. How I plan to implement that, I plan to actually allow myself to just listen to the person when they're talking, and not let my emotions get the best of me. It can get difficult sometimes because I am emotional, but a lot of these resources that have been provided to me have been such a huge help. So I plan to write it down and continue just to study the materials even after this course, which is, I feel, is very, very important. In conclusion, I feel like that this course has allowed me to see my communication barriers and where I need to improve and where I need to step back from. So I am forever grateful, and I do believe that this course is going to allow me to communicate not only as a nonprofit leader, but also as a individual in the family and relationships, as well as possibly a public speaker is one of my ultimate goals. So I am grateful for the course, and just know it's never too late, or it's not a bad thing to just reevaluate your communication skills, because there may be some things that you need to work on, and the reason why your situation is not getting fixed is because maybe there's some communication barriers you need to work on. So thank you for listening, and I cannot wait to implement this into my life.